Petol for Facts and Two Cents. Pamela and I are off this week, but I thought that I would drop in and say hi, see how you all are doing. I know a lot's been going on in the world, and I thought I'd just check in and say hi, see how you are. So I hope you all are staying safe, doing well. And Pam and I will be back with our regular show next week. But this week, I just thought I'd stop in and talk about, and just sort of catch up with all the stuff that's been going on, which has been a whole lot. And actually, just as I was about to start recording this, we got news that Prince Harry is in Aspen, Colorado to do a charity polo event with Nacho, his only brother that we will recognize. I know Nacho posted about it on Twitter, and so we're all excited. I hope to see pictures. I hope they are able to post pictures from the event, and they're all doing all charity for Sentebale, which obviously because of the pandemic that's been going on, they've have had to cancel fundraisers, and so this is great that they're able to do it in Aspen. I know Harry has been out there before, and Nacho plays there, I think, quite often as well. So it's just great to know that, some sort of normalcy is coming back, and Harry is back on a horse. I pray that they're all safe, and the polo match will go off great, and that they raise a whole lot of money. I know that Harry put out a statement about the event, and that he'll also be donating $1.5 million to Sentebale to help them to be able to carry on what they've been doing and helping so many youngsters to be able to help the men and women in Lesotho. So it's really great. So yeah, I totally look forward to seeing pictures. We don't know if Meghan and Archie and baby Lily Diana is there, but either way, whether they're there or not, I'm sure Harry will have fun. And I'm really happy that there's some sort of normalcy going back there, and that they can go out and support Sentebale. So yes, and which I am excited to do, for Harry's birthday. Oh yes, Harry's birthday is coming up, and I know the squad, as usual, are doing something. I think it's called 31 Ways to support Harry and wish Harry a happy birthday. All of this stuff hasn't come in. I have only seen like a flyer of what to expect. So I will post it, and we can all, when that goes live, we can all be celebrating Harry's birthday with him. But knowing the squad, there's always ways to give back, and I'm so grateful that we are a part of a group that really believes in philanthropy. We really believe in giving back to our communities, and I'm so happy that the squad are doing it. Also, there are other events actually yesterday and today. We saw Scobie is updated his book, and then they just put out last night, I think it was, I guess a little bit of an excerpt. People, I know yesterday he had promoted a thing that People magazine is are the ones that he's chosen to do an excerpt for his book, Finding Freedom. And and of course, whatever it is he put out there, which people apparently had not yet posted, somehow it got into the hands of the Daily Mail. And of course, you get into the hands of the Daily Mail, they'll scream Meghan and Harry are attacking the Queen. It's a given, and so, which is exactly what they did. And so I know I saw today Scobie posted on Twitter that obviously that, it's like back on the rodeo again. They are twisting things. There's nowhere in the book that is anybody attacking the Queen, so he posted that. But, it's, I can't tell anybody whether to support Omid's book or not. I mean, I appreciate Omid, his fair reporting on Harry and Meghan, that he reports fairly on them, just as he reports fairly on the Cambridges or the rest of the royal family. whomever he, posts about, he is never, there to disparage anyone. So I appreciate that aspect. I purchased the first book because I wanted to support him. I basically held my nose and bought it because I wanted to support Scobie, because I appreciated his fair reporting on the Sussexes. So I purchased it, even though I knew that the book was actually published by a Rupert Murdoch publishing company. So I still held my nose. I'm like, okay, I want to support Omid just because. But this time I'm just not. So Omid Scobie, he wrote an epilogue for the Finding Freedom book. And in it, it basically is talking about where, apparently, I obviously haven't seen it, nobody's seen it. Apparently, it's about where the Sussexes are now, and, about moving forward in their lives, and what they're planning, or what their goals are for the rest of the year and moving forward. And so, he wrote, and of course, anything that is in there, the British tabloids are going to jump on it and scream bloody murder that the Sussexes are here to murder the Queen, which we know they always do. So my thing with this whole thing is, what? Even though Omid has been reporting fairly on the Sussexes, I am not going to be supporting any book about Meghan and Harry, and especially not about Meghan, because I feel like whether it's good or bad about these books, whether it's positive or negative, Meghan had said something, when she did an interview, that, whether it's negative coverage or positive coverage, they all go down the same drain for her. And that's how I feel about any books that is written about Meghan and Harry right now. They all go down the same drain, whether it's positive or negative. I am simply going to wait until Meghan and Harry write their own book. We know Harry's book is coming out next year. And if Meghan decides to write a memoir herself, I will wait until they tell their story. They are perfectly capable, as we've seen, of telling their own story. They don't need anybody speaking for them. When they want you to know something, they'll tell it to you straight. They don't need to go through Omid Scobie or anybody else. They will tell it to you. And so for me, I am going to learn patience, and I'm going to wait until Meghan and Harry wants to tell their story. And then I will read it then, because everything else is only speculation. And especially if it's coming from England, and I don't care if the person is positive or negative about them, I want to read none of it. So that's my stance on it. Of course, everybody has to make their own decision with this as possible. I don't think Omid is a bad person. I just think, it's time to let Meghan and Harry tell their own stories. Also, even with it going on now with the tabloid press, and I know that Meghan and Harry's lawyers have sent letters to the tabloids who have been screaming about Meghan and Harry attacking the Queen today, and that information is incorrect. It's false and incorrect, and also that no one speaks for Meghan and Harry, as it should be. Meghan and Harry, when they want to make a statement, they put their names on it, or they say it on camera. So they don't need anybody speaking for them, And so, again, while I support Omid Scobie writing as a journalist, whether it's tweets or whether it's his articles on Bazaar, I support those. I just don't support his book. That's my take on it. Also, we had so many other things happening this week that were really traumatic in so many words. It's in so many ways. I mean, we know what has been happening in Haiti, the earthquake in Haiti that has killed over 1,400 people, over 6,000 people are injured, thousands left homeless. People are basically sleeping outside in the elements, and then the hurricane that was approaching, and I haven't heard much about it. So there is so much going on, and it is just heartbreaking. And I remember praying, my God, can we just, give Haiti a break? Just last month, and the president was assassinated. And so from that trauma, then you go to this trauma of an earthquake, and it's already such a poor nation, and it's just, oh, your heart breaks for what's going on in Haiti and for the people of Haiti. So, if any of you have family in Haiti, friends in Haiti, my prayers are with you. I know there's so many people that are offering aid and offering ways to get, supplies to Haiti. So it has just been devastating just watching in Haiti. And also then the trauma of Afghanistan. And it is unbelievable how quickly, and I guess I hadn't really been paying attention to the news, especially what's going on in Afghanistan. So maybe just for me it just happened so fast, but apparently there was signs that this was going to happen for a while back. And there was this gentleman in MSNBC was saying that he had given the government, the past administrations, ways to get people out of Afghanistan safely, so that they're not where we are now at that 11th hour and people are scrambling to get out of Afghanistan. But as you know, the Taliban has basically came back and retook Afghanistan, and the president of Afghanistan fled the country. So we have a people of Afghanistan are in a country with no government, and basically the Taliban has taken back Kabul, and and some of the most scary and shocking images I never thought I would ever see in my life, of people hanging on to the outside of airplanes to try to get away. And I remember someone tweeting on Twitter, and I wish I had saved his tweet, and he was like, it must be such an incredible situation there that people feel like strapping themselves on the outside of an airplane is safer. Like being in the air on the outside of an airplane is safer than being on the ground. And it was just the people scrambling it to get into the airplane, and others holding on to the side. And running alongside a moving plane. It's just, I've never seen that before, and I don't think anybody else has either. But the utter desperation, you can feel it was just so tangible. And there was another image where there are thousands of people packed in a cargo plane to get out of Afghanistan. And I remember one announcer saying, unfortunately not everybody is going to get out. So it's scary, it's shocking. And I mean, for me, just the speed of which Afghanistan, the Taliban took back Afghanistan, that just blew my mind. I'm like, well, what happened to the training that Americans were training like 300,000 troops in Afghanistan? What happened? And I know the president is giving a speech and basically backing the withdrawal. And I can't blame him. I mean, I can't disagree with ending this war. This has been 20 years. How many more lives need to be lost for this? You know what I mean? And I understand, trying to get democracy, but after 20 years, it's time to leave these people alone. And, and when you think back of how many people have died, how many innocent Afghan people have died, and how many, troops, American and allied, over 3,500, over 2,400 of those were Americans. And the rest are, the countries that were supporting the war. And so when you think about all of those, it's like, how many more do you want to die? Whose family do you want to send over there to die? And so I think this was always going to be, withdrawing was always going to be a horrible, horrible, horrible experience all the way around. But I don't think anybody expected this. And I think the chaos that people weren't expecting, if you're withdrawing, you would expect a, orderly withdrawal, but it's it's a horrendous thing, and especially horrendous for the people who supported America, who supported the troops. How many of them have died? You know, their family there, their translators there, there are people who are working in the embassy. I mean, so many Afghans who have supported the Allied troops and supported the Americans now are desperate trying to get out to save their lives. You know, and so far the Taliban has come in and it hasn't been as brutal as I was thinking they would be. Who knows? This could just be a ploy, you know, at the beginning. Who knows what's happening there? But I just hope that we're able to get people out, and at least those who want to leave, who can leave, I hope they're able to get out. I know there was this one mayor, first female mayor elected there, that she was like, I'm just sitting here. I know that people like me are going to kill. There's no one here to help. The UN isn't here. Nobody's here. And I'm just waiting here because they will kill me. She basically was sitting at home waiting to be killed because there was no security. There's nowhere, nobody to protect her, you know, which is so horrendous. You know, one of the big things is that women, especially young girls, weren't able to go back to school because, you know, that's kind of the law there. And so that's one of the big things. So I hope that we're able to, the US and the Allied forces are able to get people out. There are thousands of people that need to get out of there, and countries will, you know, step up and be able to take these refugees in. You know, the war made these refugees, so we have to take responsibility for making sure that they are safe and protected. So it's only fair. So that's my only thing with that, is just making sure everybody gets out and gets out safely, and countries step up and be able to. So with all of that, on Monday, after, you know, when everything was just sort of blew up in Afghanistan, Prince Harry teamed up with Dominic Reed and Lord Allen, who lead Invictus, to release a statement, which I'm sure you've all seen, just really supporting the soldiers, nothing political, just supporting the soldiers and encouraging the Invictus family to reach out to each other and lend support to each other, and also the wider military community to really reach out to each other to get the help, because that was triggering. You know, I mean, I didn't serve in the military and I was triggered, you know, and having spent a lot of time around military personnel, that was definitely triggering. So that was really awesome that on Monday he teamed up with the Invictus team to release that statement. And then on Tuesday, Harry and Meghan, through Archwell, released a statement about Haiti, about Afghanistan, really just sort of sharing their anxieties and inviting us into their community and to share that with them. And then also too, they posted an Archwell pledge just about their commitment to helping and serving. And because this time it feels like, you know, there's nothing you can do, but they just wanted to know that, us to know that and how they feel, and also that we can also do something in those moments where we feel like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. And so they posted resources, places that we can give to, and we can support the work in both for both Haiti and Afghanistan. Also, the work, and they also shared about, you know, what they're doing, you know, supporting works from like Vax Live through Global Citizens. They also help build Kitchen, World Central Kitchen, that is feeding the world right now in all these places around the world that are having major catastrophes. World Central Kitchen is there. Chef Jose's team is in all of these places, making sure that men and women are underground, are being fed. They also shared resources for mental health. If you need to speak to someone, if you need help with, you know, dealing with all of this triggering stuff, you can also go on there and get help you need. So you can find the resources. I'm going to post all of this in our show notes, all the links to all the sites that they shared. So thank you, Harry and Meghan, for this incredible thing and sharing your hearts. And we won't even talk about what Shutter Island had, their response to it. It was shameful, despicable, and disgusting as usual. And I know some of you who would be watching this are from Shutter Island. And I am so sorry that you have to put up with that nonsense. And I just want to encourage you guys to protect your peace, protect your energy, protect your mental well-being, protect your brain cells, turn them out, tune them off. They're just not worth your energy. You know, I think if more of us just tune them out and go about our ways, one of the things that I have done, which has been it has been a revolutionary thing for me on Twitter, is that I literally blocked every single person that retweets the Daily Mail, the Sun, the Mirror, or the Express. Every single one of them are blocked. I blocked every single person posting negative tweets about Harry and Meghan. I have blocked royal reporters. I have just blocked. I mean, I've gone on a blocking spree because I do not want any one of them anywhere. I blocked all of them. And now I can literally go and type in Meghan and Harry, and I see none of that stuff. So, or at least very little. Some of them come through and I block them too. And I think what I'm learning is that we have to create the space we want. We cannot just, assume people are going to be respectful or not be cruel or not be hateful online. We have to literally go in there and decide the kind of space that we want. And that's what I chose to do. You can do however you want, but that's just an option. It's been revolutionary. I actually like my Twitter account now. So there. And then we were doing this fun thing. It's so funny with all of that nonsense going on. Oh my goodness. If you guys, if you are not on Twitter, we were just like amusing ourselves. You need to go, and I'm going to post this link. You need to hear Tina from Sussex Squad podcast singing. Because we were amusing ourselves, I think Queen Beauty on Twitter, I think she's the one that created the I believe I can hide in the vein of I believe I can fly. And so she came up with I believe I can hide in terms of Prince Andrew hiding. So Tina decided she's going to sing a version of that, taped herself singing. You have got to hear this. It is hilarious. So, and then we were all chiming in with our little version, taking off of what people wrote and then adding our little twist to it. It was hilarious. It was just something to just, amuse ourselves and also to really, just throw something back at, Prince Andrew. Okay, so my version is, so I added a couple of lines and other people have written some of the lines and I sort of added in my own twist. So my take on it is, I believe I can hide far away from the FBI. I think about it every night and day. But don't worry, tabloids won't hide my guilt, so I'll be okay. I believe I can soar under my mama's skirt at Balmoral. I believe I can hide. I believe I can hide. I believe I can hide. Along with that is there are a couple of things really other cool things that happen. There was this guy, and I'm still trying to find out who he is. And I posted in social media, and nobody seems to know who he is. But he did this interview, and in the interview, he was talking about. He saw a tweet about Prince Harry talking about his depression. The thing had to do with the me you can see. And it encouraged him so much. And it was just one of those things where it's just like, you don't know when you tweet something who is watching or who is reading it. And just a tweet about the fact that Prince Harry was the one speaking about his mental health just impacted this man so much. And you think about all the people that, especially in Shutter Island, who have been down and attacking Harry for speaking out and speaking about his mental health and his struggles. It's like, hello, even if it was for this guy. alone, to see like, no, you're not alone. Look at Prince Harry is talking about it as well. It made such an impact on him, and I'm going to post it in the show notes. So if you guys know this guy, please let me know who it is, so I can say thank you for posting that. It was really amazing, and because the Me You Can't See has been so impactful. Also, another person the Me You Can't See impacted was Sinead O'Connor, and many of you, if you're younger, you may not readily, or it may not be at the top of your head, like who Sinead O'Connor is. But if you're into like 90s music, I think she was in the 90s, 80s or 90s. I think it was 90s music. I mean, Sinead, oh my goodness, one of my favorite songs is Nothing Compares. Nothing compares to you. That's my attempt at singing Sinead's song. So that was Prince. Wrote. I think Prince wrote that song, and Sinead sang it. But it was a major hit. And so Sinead O'Connor wrote an open letter to Prince Harry, all because she saw the Me You Can't See. And it made such an impact on her, and it helped her so much. She related to Prince Harry in terms of Prince Harry losing his mom, Princess Diana, in a car crash. And the same thing happened with her, Sinead's mom. She lost her mom in a car crash as well. And she talks about, just the anger that she felt, and she related to him, because Prince Harry also talked about, in the You Can See, he also talked about the anger that he felt. She said, as someone who has trauma-related mental health struggles, I wanted to let you know how bowled over I am by your Apple TV series. You just keep shining through. I do know something of the grief you've been brave enough to share in the public arena. It's a shock that takes years to come out of. When someone dies so violently and suddenly, it takes a lifetime. I really identify with you when you share the rage and anger you felt at the time of your mother's passing. I was the same. I'm sure we all were. Any of us who've ever lost someone in that sudden way, transcending that grief as you've done by sharing it, cuts through a lot of the garbage. And lots of us appreciate you for doing it. When so many of us see the work you are doing for the people who experience mental health struggles, we see you stomping on stigma, and we are all delighted for you. Most importantly, we know how proud your mama is of the incredibly young man you are. So many people have criticized Prince Harry, especially on Shutter Island, for opening up and again talking about his grief, talking about his anger, talking about his pain at the loss of his mom, and the struggle to find his bearings, and the trouble, and how the difficulty in being able to accept it and be able to move on from it. And must be so, and I hope his people shared this letter from Sinead with him, and also that video of that man who talked about the tweet that he saw about Harry sharing about his depression, because if only for those two people it was worth it. If only for those two people who know that somebody else share their pain, it was worth it. And that's why I always say it's so important when people share their pain, that we make sure that we are not the ones who are criticizing them, putting them down, because you never know who is listening, you never know who is watching, and you never know who this has helped. You never know, somebody on the other end might be suicidal or whatever. And so when people are criticizing Harry, imagine if you were having these on the edge like that. And then you see somebody criticizing someone who is sharing their pain. What would that person think? And so I think it's so important. That's why it was so important when Piers Morgan was on national TV saying that he didn't believe Meghan when she had, suicidal ideation. She wrote to ITV because of that, because people are watching. Who would have thought Sinead would be watching? Who would have thought it would, helped her? And for some of you who don't know, Sinead has been through a lot. One of the things she talked about, is how much she missed her mother, but you look back at even her relationship with her mom is even different from Harry's relationship with his mom. Harry had a great relationship with his mom. Sinead didn't. She had a horrible relationship with her mom. Her mom was an addict. She talks about her mom beating her, kicking her, that her mom, would go for days or whatever without showering. So she always had this smell. I mean, it was a horrible situation. So she had but she would give anything to see her mom again, to be able to hug her mom, to tell her mom how much she loves her mom, how much she loves her, and her mom passed when she was 18, but even before that, she had a traumatic childhood, when she was 14, she was put into what's called the Magdalene Laundries. And which is a home for wayward girls. At that age, when Sinead was a teenager, she was, stealing. And so her dad, thinking he was helping her, paid money to put her in a home, which was supposed to reform her and help her to become a better person and rehabilitate her to come back into society. So he paid money thinking he was doing something good and put her into one of these homes, which if you don't know about the Magdalene Laundries, I'm going to do a little aside on the Magdalene Laundries. The Magdalene Laundries, when it started back in the 1800s something, was supposed to be a home where you send girls to it's like a trade school in a way you send the girls there, who may be a little on the margin, whatever. You send them there to learn, to become better people, to get rehabilitated and rehabilitated to be better people when they come out. That was the intent when it started. But what they became prisons. These homes would take in girls who are like Sinead on the margin, who are maybe get into scrapes with the law, and a parent or police, or sometimes prison, they're doing like a release, they release people, they parole women who have been in prison, they would put them into these homes. Parents with kids like Sinead would put them in there to get rehabilitated. Some kids came from hospitals, some social workers, some schools would put girls in there. There were girls that came in there who parents couldn't afford to take care of them. There were girls in there they were put in there because they were disabled. There were also girls that were put in there because they were pregnant. Teenage moms, unwed moms, they were put in there. There were girls that were put in there because of mental issues. There were also girls put in there who were sexually assaulted, raped. Girls also put in there because they were flirtatious, because they thought they would, be wayward. And they were put in there to be rehabilitated. The youngest, I think, recorded was 12 years old. Girl of 12 years old was put in. That was the youngest, I think, that was recorded. And in these homes, when you put these girls in these homes, the first thing they would do is strip the girls. They would strip them of all the clothes that they came with. They would cut their hair. And then these girls would have to wear uniforms. What their uniforms were kind of like burlap sack kind of uniforms. So that's what they had all day, strip them. They would even strip them of their names. They could no longer be called by their names. They were given either a number or a letter. They were not allowed to talk about their lives, their family. In fact, they had to go around in silence. They were not allowed to really talk at all. These institutions were operated by the Catholic Church and were run by the nuns. And in these institutions, there were many of them, there were these laundries, literal laundries. They were called, this organization they were called Magdalene Laundries. And they were literal laundries. And what would happen is these Catholic run, backed by the government laundries, had contracts with the government and other entities where they would do the laundry for them. So you think of the military, hospitals, restaurants, schools, whatever. all would send their laundry to these Magdalene Laundries to do the laundry, literally do laundry for them. And all these girls, about thousands of girls that were put through these systems, are the labor, free labor. These girls were never paid for anything they've done. They had to live there from the moment they woke up. They had breakfast, which a lot of times was bread and water, bread and butter and water. To the time they go to sleep at night, they were slaving in these laundries and doing needlework, these needlework patterns, which the Catholic Church will sell. Basically, the Catholic Church was using these girls as these slaves, and they were using these girls and making money off of them and never paid them 1 cent. So they were unpaid labor. A lot of these girls were abused, they were beaten, they were raped, they were malnutrition. A lot of these girls, some died, some committed suicide, some were killed. The pregnant girls across from the laundry, they would have a nursery for the babies, a building for the babies. A lot of the times when the girls give birth, those babies would be adopted out of Ireland, and a lot of those babies ended up in the US. They were adopted without the girls' consent or approval. Some girls were actually told that there was no baby. It's almost like, it's your imagination. You didn't give birth. Your baby died. Those babies were adopted out. One such baby, if you've ever heard of the film Philomena, which Dame Judi Dench was in a few years ago, which I really think should have won an Academy Award, was a story about one of those mothers. One of the children was adopted out of Ireland and sent to the United States. He ended up working with President Reagan, actually. So I'm not going to give away the whole story. I'm not going to give away the story. If you want to go see the movie, it's called Philomena. It's actually a really great film. It actually won an BAFTA for Best Adapted Screenplay. I think it should have won Best Picture, but that's just my biased opinion. But anyway, these laundries were in existence until 1996. The last one closed in 1996. You might be thinking this has only happened in Ireland. Not. These laundries, these Magdalene Laundries, were not only in Ireland, they were also in the UK. They were in Scotland, Wales, England. They were also in Australia. They were in Sweden. They were in Canada, and they were in the United States. As a matter of fact, the Catholic organization, Sisters of the Good Shepherd, that basically controlled and ran these laundries, started in France, I believe it was France. They actually first came to the US and started a Magdalene Laundry here, and before going to Ireland. There were about 23 or 24 of those laundries in the United States. The first one was in Louisville, Kentucky. And you could, back then, you would find laundries all over. I mean, they were all over the country. There were 23 or 24 of them all over the country. We were working on a play called Eclipse, which is about the Magdalene Laundries. It's a play by Irish playwright Patricia Brogan, who was a nun, and a nun in training, actually. And she's in one of these laundries, and she saw what was happening. She quit and wrote the play Eclipse. And that's how I first learned about this. And when I was researching at the time, I only found out about the one in Philadelphia, and I couldn't find any more information. So since then, Tufts University did a research, and they listed all the places in this country where there were Magdalene Laundries. And there are also, as I said, some in Canada as well. But what it seems to be, and again, more research I'm sure is being done, the worst of the worst were in Ireland and Australia. The last Magdalene Laundry was closed in 1996, the Sisters of Our Lady's Charity. That was the charity that Sinead was put into. When it was sold, it was revealed that there was a cemetery there. And there was 155 people buried there. And of the 155 people buried there, they only had death certificates for 75. So it became a big deal. All of a sudden, this thing that was this open secret, amazingly enough, people knew it was there, but it was this secret nobody wanted to talk about. It became big news when they found all these bodies there, and especially some of them that were unaccounted for. Nobody knew they were dead, and then it became a big deal as to what was happening and the trauma these girls were faced. Sinead talks about her experience there. She talked about, the beatings that would happen. She's like, girls would cry all the time because of what was being done to them. The abuse was being done to them. She said, we were girls in there, not women, just children, really. And the girls in there cried every day. It was prison. We didn't see our families. We were locked in, cut off from life, deprived from a normal childhood. We were told we were there because we were bad people. Some girls had been raped at home and not believed. And this was the thing with the laundries. It's like you couldn't get out. They would, all the entries obviously would be barred. There would be gates. There are windows that the girls can't reach. If they try to escape, the local authorities will capture them and bring them back to the laundry. The only way the girls could get out is if someone signs them out, if someone comes to get them out. The only problem with that is, the parents or a family member would come to get the girls and nobody would know where they are. Because what would happen is they would move the girls around to different laundries. There were a bunch of different of these laundries all over, and they would move them around. And because they didn't use names, they were only letters or numbers, nobody knew where their children were. So you couldn't get them out. So they were they were in prison. According to some of the report, the girls were never told when they were supposed to leave. So a lot of them thought they would die there, and indeed some of them did. And some of them, as I said, committed suicide. So you think of the trauma that she went through, and that was at 14, 4 years before her mom passed, and I remember one of the things that sticks out in so many people's mind is Sinead O'Connor did a SNL, a Saturday Night Live performance, where she ripped up a picture of the Pope. And oh my goodness, she got canceled before we even knew what canceled was, because before we even know you can cancel a human being, she was canceled. I mean, she was ripped apart and from every shred of the world. Every Roman Catholic, I think, went after Sinead when she ripped up the picture of the Pope, because they didn't understand why. But when you think of what she was put through in these laundries, I remember she said one of the ways they would punish her is they would send her upstairs to where old Magdalenes, as I said, there were some people that were in these Magdalene laundries from the time they were children till they're old and died. They'd spend their entire lives in these laundries. And so they would make her sleep in a room where the old and dying Magdalenes, they call them the Magdalenes, the old and dying Magdalenes were. She was terrified because these people, she said, were really old and they were literally dying. And that's where they would send her to sleep as punishment. And you think of what stuff like that do to a person mentally, and why she would be driven to rip up a picture of the Pope, because there were other organizations that ran laundries like this. They've all apologized. The Catholic Church, they did one of those, well, if you've been hurt kind of things. When I was researching it back in 2013, there was no apology. And oddly enough, it was one of those things that was such a coincidence, because when we were doing the play, The Eclipse, in the middle of it, we had gotten in touch with, Justice for the Magdalenes, which is a group in Ireland that supports the women and advocates for them to be able to get reparations for what they had suffered in those laundries. The Irish government, after all these years, in the middle of us doing that, the Irish government called in a bunch of the Magdalenes that are still alive, and a lot of them are, some of them obviously has passed on. They called them into parliament, and the Irish prime minister apologized to them for Ireland's role in what they had suffered in those laundries, and pledged reparations at the time. That was 2013. And when I look back recently, only some people have gotten money. and only one have gotten the full amount that was promised to them. So that's an ongoing thing. But, when I look back and I think of these women, and I think of now, especially in the middle of COVID and some, during the lockdown and all of those things, I can only imagine what these women were going through. The idea of being isolated, and you have to isolate yourself when their whole childhood was taken away from them and put in isolation. Just what they would have suffered, and the kind of what it would do to their mind, and how it will play badly on their mind as they go through COVID isolation, as because of what happened to them. So I say all this because just to give you an idea of different kind of sufferings that other people might be going through. If you know somebody in your area or whatever who may have gone to one of these laundries or even been in prison, like in the US, it is believed that those Magdalene Laundries were the first women's prisons. So if you know people, women especially, who've been in prison, men and women who've been in prison, and imprisoned, and especially in isolation, reach out to them, reach out to them and let them know you're there, because I can only imagine what this whole thing has been doing to them. So that's it. I know that was a long aside, but I just wanted to sort of give you a little bit of background into Sinead and what she and why I think all of this and what Harry had done had meant so much to her. And so hopefully more and more people will get help by the Me You Can See. It's such a powerful, if you haven't seen it, please see it. It's on Apple TV, it's there, see it. It is amazing. If you know someone who needs help, who needs just help, mental help in any way, it's an incredible series to watch. And if nothing else, let them know that they are not alone. Somebody's there with you. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I know this has been long. And also, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please subscribe. We are trying to get to 5,000 by the end of the month, and please help us to get there. Click the notification bell right at the top of it so that you will know anytime we drop a video. So please help us to get there. We also have merch. And on our site, the link is also there. And please, check it out and see if you'd like to get some stuff. We even have masks. I'm just going to brag. So, and we have, believe it or not, we have a yoga mat and a yoga towel, because we had, I was thinking, well, what would Meghan do? Meghan will have a yoga mat and yoga towel. So there, we have a yoga mat and yoga towel. Unfortunately, we are not fine china kind of people. We are mug people. So we have mugs. Sorry, we don't have fine china. Okay, sorry, Meghan. We do mugs. So anyway, check out the website, and yeah. And thank you, guys. And I will, I guess, see you next week. Okay, love you.